The great chamber was silent as Ambassador Hannah walked toward the central platform. Above her, 800 alien delegates watched from their floating seats. The room was enormous, larger than any stadium on Earth. Built to remind every species of their smallness before the mighty Galactic Council, Tana had made this walk many times before. For 12 years she had served as Earth's voice among the stars. She had smiled when they insulted her. She had bowed when they demanded it. She had swallowed her pride 1,000 times because that was what her people needed her to do. But today was different. Today, she carried the weight of 300 years of suffering on her shoulders. High Speaker, Rel sat at the highest point of the chamber. His insectoid body clicked and shifted as he watched the human approach. His 4 eyes showed nothing but boredom. To him, this was just another request from a lesser species. Ambassador of Earth, Rel said, his voice echoing through translation devices. You may speak. Hannah looked up at the countless faces staring down at her. Some were curious. Most were not. To them, humans were a minor species, useful for dangerous work and little else. High Speaker, Hannah began, I come before this council to request something that should not need requesting. Earth asks for recognition as a Tier 1 civilization with full voting rights. Laughter rippled through the chamber. It was not loud, but it was everywhere. Delegates whispered to each other. Some did not even try to hide their amusement. Councillor Dreen of the Malarai Trade Federation leaned forward. His gray skin wrinkled as he smiled. The humans want to be our equals. How delightful, Hannah continued as if she had not heard him. For 3 centuries, humanity has served this council. We have sent our people to mine the most dangerous asteroids. We have developed technologies that every species now uses. We have lost millions of lives doing the jobs no other species would do. And you were paid for this service, Commander Torak interrupted. The Kelvin military leader was massive, his scaled body nearly twice the size of a human. You should be grateful we gave you any place at all among civilized species. Hannah felt her hands shake, but she kept her voice steady. Grateful? Let me tell you what we are grateful for, Commander. We are grateful that when our colony on Proxima died from a plague, the Council voted against sending medicine because it was not cost-effective. 400,000 humans died, waiting for help that never came. The laughter stopped. We are grateful that human engineers built the quantum relay network that allows instant communication across the galaxy, and we received nothing but more demands in return. We are grateful that when the Kelvin Empire needed soldiers to fight their border wars, they drafted human volunteers with promises of citizenship that were never honored. Commander Torak's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. Hannah's voice grew stronger. For 300 years, we have given everything. We asked only to be treated as equals. We asked only for the respect that every other Tier 1 species receives automatically. And every time, we were told to wait, to be patient, that our time would come. She paused and looked directly at High Speaker Vrel. Our time has come. We are no longer asking. We are demanding what we have earned. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted over each other. Some were angry. Others seemed confused that a human would dare speak this way. High Speaker Vrel raised one of his many arms and silence fell. You demand? He said slowly. Little ambassador, you forget your place. Humans are useful, yes, but you are children in a galaxy of ancient civilizations. Your species has existed for what? A few 100,000 years? My kind has ruled the stars for 50 million years. Leaned forward, his eyes cold. You do not demand anything from us. You ask politely, and we decide if your request has merit. That is how this works. That is how it has always worked. Hannah stood perfectly still. Then let us vote. Let the council decide if humanity deserves equality. Vrel made a clicking sound that might have been amusement. Very well. Vote. All those in favor of granting Earth Tier 1 status? Hannah looked around the chamber. One light appeared. Just one, from a small delegation in the far corner. Everyone else sat in darkness. All those opposed? The chamber lit up like a sunrise. 847 lights shining against humanity's future. The vote fails, Vrel announced. Earth's request is denied. Perhaps try again in another century, little ambassador. Now, return to your place. Hannah did not move. She stood on that platform and felt something shift inside her. All her life, she had believed in diplomacy. She had believed that if humans worked hard enough, proved themselves enough, the galaxy would eventually accept them. She had been wrong. Slowly, Na reached up and removed the diplomatic sash from her shoulder. It was the symbol of her position, the mark of Earth's membership in the Council. She held it in her hands for a moment, then let it fall to the floor. The chamber went quiet again, but this time the silence was different. It was the silence of a room that did not understand what it was seeing. "What are you doing?" Counselor Drin asked. Hannah looked up at them all. 800 species that had used humanity for centuries. 800 species that would never see humans as anything more than servants. Earth hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, she said. Her voice was calm and clear, effective immediately. No one spoke. No one moved. High Speaker Vrel's eyes blinked rapidly. "You cannot do that. No species has ever left the Council. It is not done. It's done now," Hannah replied. She turned and began walking toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the enormous chamber. Behind her, she could hear voices rising, confusion spreading. Delegates demanding explanations, but Hannah did not look back. She walked out of the chamber, out of the station, and into a shuttle that would take her home. Far away on Earth, Admiral Taiho watched the broadcast. He saw Hannah drop her sash. He heard her words, and for the first time in years, he smiled. He turned to General Sahi, who stood beside him in the command center. "Begin Phase 2, he said. "It is time to show them what we have been building." Sahi nodded and began issuing orders. Across Earth, hidden systems came online. Ships that had been built in secret powered up their engines. Scientists prepared to shut down networks that the galaxy had come to depend on. The Council did not know it yet. But the universe had just changed forever. Humanity was done being patient. The first warning came 12 hours after Ambassador Hannah left the Council chamber. A message appeared on every communication screen across the galaxy. It was simple and short. Earth thanks the Galactic Council for 3 centuries of service. All human-maintained systems will shut down in 24 hours. We wish you well. High Speaker Varel read the message and laughed. Human-maintained systems. What systems? They run our mining operations and translate our languages. We will find replacements within a week. He was wrong. Dr. Minho stood in Earth's central technology hub, surrounded by screens showing data from across the galaxy. He was a small man with tired eyes, but today those eyes were bright with purpose. For 30 years, he had helped build and maintain the systems that connected civilized space. He knew exactly what would happen when those systems went dark. "Begin shutdown sequence for the quantum relay network," he said quietly. His team hesitated. One young engineer looked at him with worry. "Sir, if we shut this down, billions of beings will lose instant communication. Ships will be stranded. Colonies will be cut off from their homeworlds." Minho nodded. "Yes, they will. And they will finally understand what they took from us without ever saying thank you." He paused. "Proceed." Across the galaxy, the lights went out. On the trade world of Mallory Prime, Counselor Drin was in the middle of a business call when his screen flickered and died. He tried to reconnect, but nothing worked. His assistants ran in with news that all long-range communication had failed. Ships in orbit could not contact the surface. The stock exchange crashed within minutes because no one could complete their transactions. "Get me a connection to the Council," Drin shouted. "Cannot, sir. The quantum relay is down. The humans built it. The humans maintained it. And now it is gone." Dren felt his blood turn cold. He had never thought about who built the relay. He had simply used it, assuming it would always be there. On the Kelvin homeworld, Commander Torak faced a different problem. His mighty fleet, the largest in the galaxy, suddenly could not navigate. The star charts that every ship used were a human creation, updated and maintained by human scientists. When Earth withdrew, they took the charts with them. Use our old charts, Torek ordered. Sir, our old charts are 200 years out of date. Stars have moved. New hazards have appeared. If we travel using these charts, we will lose ships. Torek slammed his fist against the wall. Then figure it out yourselves. But figuring it out was not simple. Humans had spent centuries mapping the galaxy with incredible detail. They had shared this information freely, and no one had thought to make copies. Why would they? The humans would always provide. Now the humans were gone. Director Nari sat in Earth's intelligence center, watching reports come in from every corner of the galaxy. She was a woman who rarely smiled, but today she allowed herself a small one. Alori trade has dropped by 60%, one of her officers reported. Their economy is collapsing because they cannot communicate with their trading partners. The Kelvin fleet is stuck in their home system, another added. They are afraid to move without accurate navigation data. 3 hospital stations have reported critical shortages of medicine. Only humans knew how to make the treatments for Varel plague. Nari listened to each report carefully. This was not revenge. This was a lesson. For 300 years, the galaxy had treated humans as servants, and servants were invisible. No one noticed the people who kept things running until they stopped running. General Sahi stood beside her. How long before they come begging? Some already have, Nari replied. 14 species have requested emergency talks with Earth. I told them Ambassador Hannah is unavailable. Sahi raised an eyebrow. Is she? She is taking a vacation. She has earned it. On Station Apex, High Speaker Vrel finally understood the size of the disaster. His communication with distant council members was gone. Reports were coming in by slow courier ships, taking days or weeks instead of seconds. And every report was worse than the last. How did we let this happen? He demanded. How did we give the humans so much control over our infrastructure? His advisor, a thin creature with too many eyes, looked at the floor. We did not give them anything, High Speaker. They simply did the work no one else wanted to do. They asked for nothing in return except respect. We did not even give them that. Brel wanted to argue, but he could not. He remembered 100 times when humans had asked for help or recognition, and he had dismissed them. They were just humans. They should be grateful for any place among real civilizations. Now those humans had shown him the truth. They had been carrying the galaxy on their shoulders, and no one had noticed the weight. On Earth, Admiral Taiho addressed his people. His image appeared on every screen on the planet and on every human ship and colony. For 300 years, we gave the galaxy our best, he said. We asked for nothing but equality. They gave us nothing but contempt. So we have left. Not in anger, but in dignity, he paused, his eyes steady. Some will say we should have fought. Some will say we should have accepted our place and waited for better times. But we have been waiting for 3 centuries. How much longer should we wait for others to see our worth? We have shown them now, not with weapons, but with truth. They needed us, and they refused to admit it. Now they will learn what life is like without humanity. But let me be clear. We will not fire the first shot. We will not attack anyone. We will simply live our lives free from those who despised us. And if they want our help again, they will have to ask properly, as equals, as partners. Not as masters demanding service. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched this broadcast through whatever communication methods they could still use. Some were angry. Some were frightened. A few, the wise ones, felt ashamed. Empress Kira of the Nexian Collective was one of the wise ones. She had voted against Earth's Tier 1 request, following the crowd without thinking. Now her people were dying from a sickness only human medicine could cure. She had sent messages to Earth begging for help, but there was no response. She sat alone in her throne room, thinking about the human ambassador who had dropped her sash and walked away. Kira had seen many things in her long life, but she had never seen such quiet courage. Maybe they were right, she whispered to herself. Maybe we were the lesser species all along. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. They had built their civilization on the backs of humans, never thinking about what would happen when those humans decided to stand up. Now they knew, and the silence was only the beginning. 3 weeks after Earth's departure, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. The great chamber that had once held 800 delegates now felt empty and cold. Many representatives could not attend because their ships could not navigate safely. Others refused to come, already planning their own separate deals with humanity. High Speaker Varel looked at the remaining delegates with frustration, burning in his 4 eyes. "We must force the humans to return," he declared. "They cannot be allowed to hold our civilization hostage." Commander Torak stood up, his massive scaled body casting a shadow over those around him. "Give me permission, and my fleet will remind the humans why they should fear us. We are the greatest military power in the galaxy. These small creatures cannot stand against us." Some delegates cheered. Others looked worried. Counselor Dren raised a thin hand. "Commander, are you certain this is wise?" "We do not know what the humans have been building in secret." Torak laughed. "What could they possibly build? They are miners and engineers, not warriors. They have spent 3 centuries doing our dirty work. They do not know how to fight a real war." "Perhaps," Dren said quietly. "Or perhaps they have been learning from every war we have fought while we watched." Torak ignored him. He looked at High Speaker Varel with hunger in his eyes. "Give me the order. I will bring the humans back in chains." Varel hesitated for only a moment. His power was weakening every day. Species were leaving the council. His enemies were growing bold. He needed a victory to prove that the council was still strong. "Go," he said. "Teach the humans their place." The Kelvin fleet was a terrifying sight. 3,000 warships, each one powerful enough to destroy a moon. They had conquered dozens of species over the centuries. No one had ever defeated them in open battle. Torak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars fly past as his fleet traveled toward Earth's solar system. He imagined the fear on human faces when they saw his armada. He imagined their little ships trying to run. He imagined the glory of dragging Ambassador Hannah back to the council in chains. His dreams ended when they reached the edge of Earth's territory. Lieutenant Ho was waiting for them. She sat calmly on the bridge of the Sovereign, Earth's flagship. It was not as large as Torak's vessel, but it did not need to be. "Commander Torak," Jiho said, her voice broadcasting across all channels. "You are approaching Earth's space. Turn back now, and no harm will come to you." Torak laughed so hard his scales rattled. "Little human, I have 3,000 ships. You have what? A few hundred? Stand aside, or we will destroy you." Koho did not move. "Very well. Let me show you something." Across Earth's solar system, hidden stations came online. Satellites that had looked like space debris revealed themselves as weapon platforms. Moons that seemed ordinary opened to show massive defense systems. And from behind Jupiter, a second human fleet appeared. Not a few hundred ships? Thousands? Torak's laughter died in his throat. "For 3 centuries, you sent us to fight your wars," Jiho said calmly. "We studied every battle. We learned every strategy. We watched every weapon you developed. And while you thought we were just following orders, we were taking notes." Torak's officers were shouting warnings. The human weapons were locking onto Kelvin ships. The defense grid was unlike anything they had ever seen. It used technology that should not exist. Combinations of systems from dozens of different species, all improved and modified by human engineers. "You cannot have built this," Torak growled. "This is impossible." "You never asked what we were building," Jiho replied. "You never thought to ask? We were just humans, after all. Just the people who fixed your ships and maintained your networks and died in your mines. Why would you care what we did in our spare time?" Torak looked at his tactical display. His fleet was completely surrounded. The human weapons could destroy half his ships before he could fire a single shot. He had walked into a trap, and he had not even known it existed. "Turn back, Commander," Jiho said. "This is your final warning. We do not want to fight, but we will defend ourselves." For a long moment, Torak did not speak. His officers waited. His fleet waited. The entire galaxy, it seemed, held its breath. Then Torak gave the order. "All ships, retreat." The Kelvin fleet turned and ran. 3,000 warships, the mightiest armada in the galaxy. Fleeing from a species they had called primitive, news of the retreat spread across the galaxy within hours. Species that had feared the Kelvin Empire suddenly saw them differently. If humans could make them run, maybe the Kelvins were not as powerful as everyone believed. On her throne world, Empress Kira watched the recordings of the Kelvin retreat. She had already lost 10,000 of her people to the sickness that only human medicine could cure. She had waited for the Council to solve the problem. The Council could barely hold itself together. It was time to try something different. Send a message to Ambassador Hannah, Kira ordered. A private message, not through Council channels. What should we say, Empress? Kira thought for a moment. Tell her that the Nexian Collective wishes to speak with Earth, not as masters to servants, but as equals who need help and are willing to offer help in return. The message reached Earth within a day. Carried by a fast courier ship since the quantum relay was still dark, Ambassador Hannah, no longer wearing her diplomatic sash, read the message in her garden on Earth. She had spent 3 weeks resting, trying to forget 3 centuries of insults. But she had not forgotten her duty. She looked at Empress Kira's words carefully. They were humble, without being pathetic. They asked for help without demanding it. And most importantly, they offered partnership instead of servitude. What do you think? Admiral Taiho asked. He had come to visit her personally. Hannah considered for a long time. I think this is why we did what we did. Not to punish them, but to find the ones who could see us as equals. And you believe Kira is one of those? I believe she is learning to be. Sometimes that is enough. Hannah stood up. Send a reply. Tell her I would be honored to meet and discuss the future. Tell her that Earth remembers those who reach out with open hands. On Station Apex, High Speaker Vrel received news of both the failed invasion and the Nexian contact with Earth. His power was crumbling. Species were leaving the Council every day. The great institution that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years was falling apart. How did it come to this? He asked his empty chamber. But he knew the answer. They had taken humanity for granted. They had assumed the servants would always serve. They had never imagined that the quiet ones were the most dangerous of all. Now it was too late to imagine anything else. 6 months had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Mallory Trade Federation had collapsed completely. Without human logistics experts, their shipping routes fell into chaos. Without human engineers, their stations began to fail. Councillor Drin had resigned in disgrace. Blamed for not foreseeing the disaster, the Kelvin Empire had withdrawn into isolation. Was too ashamed to face the galaxy after their retreat from Earth space. Commander Torak had been stripped of his command. A broken warrior who could not understand how he had lost without fighting. 12 species had already signed treaties with Earth. 20 more were in negotiations. A new power was rising, and it was not built on fear or conquest. It was built on respect, but High Speaker Vrel refused to accept the end of his council. He had ruled for 200 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He would not let a few primitive humans destroy everything he had built. So he did something no council leader had ever done. He traveled to Earth. His ship was small, just a diplomatic vessel with a minimal crew. He came without guards, without weapons, without the grand ceremony that usually followed him everywhere. He came as close to humble as his pride would allow. Admiral Taiho agreed to meet him, not in a palace, not in a grand hall. He chose a simple conference room on the moon base, with plain walls and ordinary chairs. When Vrel entered, he found only Taiho and Ambassador Hannah waiting for him. "Where is your court?" Vrel asked, confused. "Where are your servants? Your displays of power?" "We do not need those things," Taiho said. "Please, sit." Vrel sat awkwardly. His insectoid body was not designed for human furniture. He looked at the 2 humans before him, trying to understand them. They showed no anger, no gloating. They simply watched him with patient eyes. "I have come to offer you everything," Vrel began. Tier 1 status. A permanent seat on the council. Full voting rights. Reparations for the past centuries. Everything you asked for, and more. Taiho nodded slowly. We appreciate the offer. Then you will return. You will bring back the quantum relay and the star charts and the medicine. No. Vrel blinked all four of his eyes. No, but I am giving you what you wanted. Hannah spoke for the first time. Hi, Speaker. 6 months ago, I stood in your chamber and asked for equality. You laughed at me. The entire council laughed at me. It was a mistake. I see that now. It was not a mistake, Hannah said gently. It was the truth. You did not see us as equals then, and you do not see us as equals now. You are only here because you need us. If we returned, if we fixed your problems, you would go back to treating us the same way within a year. Rel wanted to argue, but he could not find the words. Because deep down, he knew she was right. Taiho leaned forward. You wanted us as partners, but only on your terms. You wanted us as servants who did not know their worth. We know our worth now, High Speaker. And we have decided that we deserve better than the Galactic Council. But the galaxy is falling apart without you, Vrel said. Millions are dying. Civilizations are collapsing. And whose fault is that? Taiho asked. For 3 centuries, you built your empire on our backs. You never thought about what would happen if we decided to stop carrying your weight? That was your choice, not ours. Vrel felt something he had not felt in centuries. Shame. He had ruled the galaxy. Commanded the respect of 1,000 species. And now he was being lectured by creatures he had dismissed as inferior. What do you want? He asked finally. What will it take for Earth to help the galaxy recover? Taiho looked at Hannah, then back at Vrel. We are already helping, just not through the council. We are building something new, High Speaker. An alliance of equals. Species that treat each other with respect and share resources fairly. Some of your former members have already joined us. You are replacing the council. We are offering an alternative. Any species that wants to join is welcome, including yours. But there will be no tiers. No higher or lower civilizations. Just partners working together. Rel shook his head slowly. The council will never accept this. We are the oldest institution in the galaxy. We cannot simply become equal to newer species. Then do not join, Hannah said. That is also your choice. But the galaxy is moving on, High Speaker. With or without you. After Vrel left, Dr. Minho joined Taiho and Hannah in the conference room. He carried a tablet showing the true history of Earth's departure. It is time to tell them the full story, Minho said. They deserve to know. Taiho nodded. Begin. Minho pressed a button, and a holographic display filled the room. We call it the Long Plan. It started 120 years ago when my grandmother was young. The display showed an old woman with kind eyes and steel determination. Her name was Dr. Yuna. She was a simple engineer on a council mining station. One day, she realized something important. The council did not respect us, and they never would. But they depended on us in ways they did not even understand. The display shifted to show complex diagrams. She started building a network. Quietly, secretly. Humans in every important position, passing knowledge to each other. Preparing for the day when we would finally stand up. She did not want revenge, Minho continued. She wanted freedom. So she designed a plan that would take generations to complete. Her children continued her work. Their children continued after them. And 5 years ago, we decided we were finally ready. Hannah stared at the display with wonder. I did not know. All those years I was ambassador, I did not know there was a plan. That was intentional, Minho said. Your anger was real. Your pain was genuine. The council needed to see authentic emotion, or they would have suspected something. General Sahi entered the room with news. Admiral, 12 more species have requested to join the Earth Alliance. That brings our total to 43, Taiho smiled. Dr. Yuna would be proud. She dreamed of a galaxy where humans were respected, Minho said. But I think she would be happier knowing that we are building a galaxy where everyone is respected. That was always the true goal. Not power. Not revenge. Just a better future for everyone willing to work for it. Director Nari appeared on a communication screen. Admiral, I have news. The remaining Council loyalists are gathering their fleets. It appears they are planning one last attack on Earth. Taiho did not seem worried. How many ships? About 1,500. But Admiral, that is not why I am calling. Nari paused, and something like a smile crossed her serious face. Empress Kira has announced that the Nexian fleet will defend Earth if any attack comes. 17 other species have made similar promises. For a moment, no one spoke. 300 years of struggle, and now Earth had allies. Real allies who would fight beside them. The long plan worked, Hannah whispered. We are not alone anymore. Taiho looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, a new future was waiting to be built, he said. We never were. We just needed to find the right way to show them who we really are. 1 year after Ambassador Hannah dropped her sash on the council chamber floor, the galaxy looked completely different. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was a shadow of its former self. High Speaker Varel ruled over a handful of stubborn species who refused to accept the new reality. Everyone else had moved on. The Earth Alliance held its first official assembly on a space station orbiting Earth's moon. It was a new station, built in just 8 months by human engineers and workers from 30 different species. Unlike the cold grandeur of Station Apex, this place felt warm and welcoming. Light flowed through wide windows. Plants from 100 worlds grew in gardens along the corridors. Music played softly in the gathering halls. 40-7 species had sent representatives. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some floated in special chambers because they could not survive in normal air. Others towered above their neighbors. A few were so small they needed platforms to be seen, but every single one had an equal voice in this chamber. Ambassador Hannah stood at the central podium, looking out at the assembly. She was not wearing her old diplomatic sash. Instead, she wore a simple blue dress that she had chosen herself. No symbols of rank, no displays of power, just a human being speaking to other beings. 1 year ago, I walked away from the Galactic Council, she began. I was angry. I was hurt. I had given 12 years of my life to an institution that saw my people as nothing more than useful tools. She paused, looking at the faces watching her. Some she recognized. Empress Kira sat in the front row, her health restored by human medicine. Dr. Minho was there, along with General Sahi and Director Nari, and in the back, watching quietly, was Admiral Taiho. But today I am not angry, Hannah continued. Today I am grateful. Not because we won. Not because the council failed. I am grateful because we found each other. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Look around this room. 47 species who chose respect over fear. 47 species who decided that equals working together is better than masters ruling from above. This is what we always wanted. Not power. Not revenge. Just a chance to build something better. The assembly burst into applause. Different species made approval in different ways. Some clapped, some sang. Some changed colors, but the meaning was the same. They were united. Director Nari received a message during the ceremony. She read it quickly, then walked to Admiral Taiho's side. The council loyalists are moving, she whispered. 1,500 ships, heading for Earth. Taiho nodded calmly. And our response? All ready in position, Admiral. The Nexian fleet, the Volari defenders, the Trinari battle groups, and 17 other allied species. In total, over 4,000 ships ready to defend Earth. Taiho smiled. Then let them come. Far from the celebration, a fleet of council loyalists approached Earth's solar system. They were led by a new commander, a young Kelvin, eager to restore his empire's honor after Torak's humiliation. The humans think their little alliance will protect them, the commander said. They will learn otherwise. But as his fleet reached the edge of Earth's space, alarms began to sound. His sensors showed ships everywhere, not just human ships. Ships from species that had been enemies for centuries, now standing side by side in defense of a world they had once dismissed. What is this? The commander demanded. His officer stared at the tactical display with wide eyes. They have 4,000 ships, Commander, from 20 different species, and they are broadcasting a message. Let me hear it. Lieutenant Jiho's voice filled the Kelvin bridge. Council fleet, you are approaching Earth Alliance space. We have 47 species standing together in defense of peace. If you attack one of us, you attack all of us. Turn back now, and there will be no conflict. Continue, and you will face the combined strength of the new galaxy. The Kelvin commander felt his confidence crumbling. He had expected to fight humans. He had not expected to fight everyone. They are bluffing, he said, but his voice wavered. Commander, his officer said quietly, they are not bluffing. I am detecting Nexian dreadnoughts, Valari strike cruisers, and Trinari defense platforms. Species that have never fought together before are standing as one. This is not a bluff. This is the future. For a long moment, the commander stared at the display. He thought about honor. He thought about duty. He thought about how his entire fleet would be destroyed within minutes if they attacked. All ships, he said finally, stand down. Return to Council space. The Loyalist fleet turned and left. They did not fire a single shot. They simply fled from something they could not understand, something stronger than any weapon. Unity. News of the retreat reached the Earth Alliance Assembly within minutes. The delegates celebrated, but it was not a celebration of military victory. It was joy at what their alliance represented. 47 species had stood together, and war had been prevented without a single death. Admiral Taiho addressed the assembly after the announcement. He was old now, his hair white, his face lined with years of struggle. But his eyes were bright with hope. 73 years ago, I was a young officer on a human mining colony, he said. I watched council ships pass overhead and wondered if we would ever be more than servants. Today, I know the answer. He looked at the assembled delegates. We were told we were too young for the stars, too emotional, too fragile. Perhaps that is true. But we learned that those things they called weaknesses were our greatest strengths. Our passion drove us to keep fighting when others would give up. Our creativity allowed us to build what others thought impossible. Our refusal to accept unfairness led us to this moment. His voice softened. We did not leave the council to burn the galaxy. We left to prove that something better was possible. And now, standing here with all of you, I know we were right. Late that night, after the celebrations ended, Lieutenant Jiho stood alone on the bridge of the Sovereign. The great ship floated in orbit around Earth, surrounded by allied vessels from across the galaxy. She looked out at the stars. For most of her life, those stars had represented a galaxy that hated and used her people. Now they represented something different. Hope, partnership, home. General Sahi found her there. The older woman stood beside her in comfortable silence. Thinking about the future? Sahi asked finally. Thinking about the past, Jiho replied. About all the humans who died in council mines without ever knowing this day would come. About Dr. Yuna and her long plan. About all the quiet sacrifices that brought us here. Sahi nodded. They would be proud, would they? We are not rulers of the galaxy. We are not the most powerful species. We are just one voice among many now, Sahi said, smiling. That is exactly what they wanted. Not power. Not revenge. Just a place among equals. A chance to be seen for who we really are. Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled too. You know what I keep thinking about? Ambassador Hannah dropping her sash. That one small moment of courage that changed everything. Small moments often do, Sahi said. One person standing up. One voice saying, enough. One choice to be brave instead of silent. Outside, the stars shone bright and endless. Somewhere out there, a new future was being built. Not by conquerors or empires, but by species learning to work together. It would not be easy. There would be challenges ahead. But for the first time in 300 years, humanity faced those challenges as equals, and that made all the difference. Lieutenant Jiho turned from the window. I should get some sleep. Tomorrow we start real work. Tomorrow we build something new, Sahi agreed. They walked together off the bridge, leaving the stars to shine in the darkness. Behind them, Earth turned slowly in the void. a small blue world that had refused to stay small. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.